Get ready to break out your F-bomb counters. HBO has officially confirmed that preliminary discussions have taken place over the idea of turning their once popular TV show Deadwood into a movie. The whispers started when former Deadwood actor Garret Dillahunt tweeted out the following. So I'm hearing credible rumors about a hashtag Deadwood movie, hashtag everybody pray. Following that tweet, HBO put out the following statement. In reference to Garret Dillahunt's tweet regarding the rumored Deadwood movie, there have only been very preliminary conversations. Christian, do you think we could actually get a Deadwood movie? And if so, would it be a good idea?
This is tricky because if they do a movie, I think it would be better served on HBO. Because, first of all, Westerns are hard in general to pull off on feature films in general. They're hard to make a lot of money on, especially for a show that's been off the air for so long. That's going to be tough for them to do. And look at what like Entourage. And Entourage was a show that had a break, didn't do so great. Now this movie could work if you don't try to go after just the audience that was watching it. If you try to make it standalone on its own, if it is a feature film, if it isn't an HBO film, and they're going to put it in as just a standalone feature film, and you cut together a great trailer, this is an uphill battle, though, because you have to go against the grain, against making a Western as hard enough as it is when you don't have DiCaprio, Hardy, and Naruto directing it. So it's tough. I think it's better served as a movie on HBO. So I think it'll happen eventually, but I hope that it happens on HBO and not on the big screen.
I think this could be cinematically very inspiring. I think this would look really great on a big screen. But that's this thing. Then comes the business case. Couldn't you turn on enough people who were previously fans of the show? But more importantly, whenever you're talking about old TV shows or old IP or anything like that, the question is not can you get the people who used to watch it or used to read it or used to whatever the original source material is. The question is can you get people who didn't used to watch it come out to the theater? That's the question. Now, something like this could look beautiful, and the trailers could kill it. One of the things I loved about Deadwood is one of the same things I loved about Spartacus, and I think I remember hearing that Stephen DeKnight borrowed from Deadwood in this, is their use of language. Because if you watch Spartacus or Deadwood, let's focus on Deadwood, it's incredibly Shakespearean in the Old West, peppered with profanity, like all manner and means of profanity. But it created this really incredible mixture and tone for the show that I was always fascinated, just sitting and listening to it. I felt the same way about Spartacus many times. And you put that on the big screen, cut that into a trailer, you get this original cast back, and we don't know if they're talking about a reimagining of it or if they're talking about getting the original cast back. It would be a shame if they didn't get the original cast back. Then I think this is something that could have potential. Could be a massive bomb. Could be a massive bomb. And it's definitely the much safer play to make it an HBO movie. But I think there's some potential here for putting it on the big screen. What do you think, Mark?
Well, it's safe to say that if they do put it on the big screen in theaters, it will be rated R. I mean,
yes, no question.
I was never a regular reviewer of Deadwood, but I popped in from time to time, and it is so profane. You would think you're talking to Ashley Mova off camera. It is that foul of language. And they also eat a lot of beef jerky in that show as well. So it seems like a good idea. It seems like a no-brainer to make this for an HBO film. I'm not sure about the transfer to theaters because the good news is it's not going to cost that much money to pull off this production, even if you put it out in theaters. The fan base, though, is my question. Christian, I thought, brought up a great point with Entourage, is that I thought Entourage had a huge fan base. One of the bigger ones, that and Game of Thrones, and Sopranos, the three biggest fan bases of HBO shows ever, and it just didn't do that well. So as long as you have modest expectations for Deadwood, and that's factored into the budget, it doesn't cost that much to even do an episode of Game of Thrones from a movie standpoint. So you could do this on the cheap, and you don't have a lot of like A-list star power that you have to pay $20 million to. You could do it. I just think it makes a lot more sense to put on HBO.
Yeah. One of the interesting things about the whole Entourage, going back to another point that we discussed previously, was that with Entourage, I think one of the key things that led to the failing of the movie, and I enjoyed the movie, I thought it was entertaining, but that one of the things that I think led to its failings was that, remember how we were mentioning, it's not about can you go and get the original audience back. The question is, can you go out and get people into the theaters that weren't a part of the original audience? That movie and their marketing did nothing to appeal to people who didn't watch the show. All of their marketing was focused on, remember how fun it was hanging out with the guys in Hollywood? And so anybody who wasn't originally a fan of the show, like I have friends of mine who didn't watch the show, were like, I have no interest in seeing that.
Well, I think I agree with you, and I think, but this is a show, Deadwood, that would be easier to try to get away from doing that than Entourage was, because you have to know the personalities in Entourage, because even though you don't want to catch you up with it, you have to know a lot to really be invested in them. As we're in Deadwood, you can market this as just a Western, a brand new Western with a brand new thing. That's almost like what we do with Star Wars, to where we're like, if you read the canon stuff, it will be, you know what I mean? Like if you've read the books, it'll be nice for you to get this special surprise when you watch it, but you won't be lost watching it. Same thing with the movie. If they shoot it as a complete standalone, like this is a brand new Western, like you wouldn't even have to have known it was a television show, then it could work.
But you also run the risk of alienating the hardcore fans that love the TV show, because if they feel like you're dumbing it down too much to appeal to an audience.
No, I'm not saying dumbing it down. I'm just telling you you could do a show where you don't have to be so on the inside for watching all these different references. You can just make it like a new standalone story that happens in the world of Deadwood. And so when you're watching, but the thing is, in general, I don't care what they do, Westerns are hard to pull off financially to make a profit. So regardless of how they do it, whether they make it towards the hardcore fans, it's always hard to make a Western. But I think they can market it really well on HBO to where it's coming back. It's coming back, more promotion. I think it benefits them more to do it on HBO.
All right, we'll compromise. Put it on Cinemax.
Oh, and one last thing. If you haven't seen, I was late to the party for Deadwood. I only watched it for the first time like maybe a year ago. I put it on and I binge watched the whole thing, and I really enjoyed it. If you are a Sons of Anarchy fan, watch Deadwood, because you are going to be shocked. Like 6 or 7 Sons of Anarchy regulars are in that show. And one of the big ones that stood out to me was, remember the Doc? The Doc in Deadwood, he's, the guy, he's back right there, second right beside Ian McShane. Right. I remember watching the show and thinking, why does his voice sound so familiar? It's an actor by the name of Brad Dourif, who played Wormtongue in the original Lord of the Rings films. I was like, that's why he sounds so familiar.
He played Wormtongue?
Yeah, he was Wormtongue. Isn't that crazy?
You sure?
I'm absolutely sure.
Wow, all right.
Absolutely. I know, it's crazy,
I'm sure
right?
the fans will let us know.